All right. What's up, guys? Here I am for the trading recap on July 5th. Yesterday we had off for July 4th, so there's no trading. And today is the start of the week, finishing up $341 on the day, which is pretty solid. I'm very happy with these results. However, there were some things I could do better on, which is good to reflect on and obviously work and improve those things. But also, I'm very happy with where I'm at. Made most of it on MTEK and RMED. I had a small loss. So MTEK will go right into this. MTEK pre-market. I saw this popping up on some news, and then this candle here, we broke back over VWAP, and these two candles were much, much higher volume than the previous area of the previous front side. So I figured, we would see some move through 149. I was playing for the high. However, it's kind of stalled out a little bit for my liking, and broke back under VWAP for a second, and I had panic sold when I didn't really need to, and I didn't actually hold, and I sold. I bought back in at 149 for the break of the high. We got like a 1 or 2 cent breakout, sold it for a small gain. Tried going in on a 1 minute dip off 150, got another couple cents on it. It wasn't the best front side. There was only maybe like a 10-cent run from the high, 150 to 160. But one thing, I could do better here is being patient. I had this pop here on higher relative volume, and there's a really good chance that you'd see that move through 149. This is sort of like a cup and handle pattern here, and I should have saw that and held strong here and added actually on this pullback, this micro pullback under the high after a double top at 149, and then add for that break on 149 and 150. That would be the ideal play here. But pre-market, it's hard for me to remember that I have to be a little bit more patient. Pre-market moves take a little bit more time to resolve rather than the open. And the reason I do so well at the open is because I can see the best trades at the open between 9:30 and 10. They work right away, and there's no hesitation of whether or not it's going to be a winning trade or a losing trade. You pretty much know as soon as you buy if it's going to be a winner or a loser majority of the time. Pre-market, you kind of have to give it a little bit more time, a little bit more wiggle room to see if it's going to resolve. And that's not something that is my strength. My biggest weakness is my lack of patience, and that's just something that I need to work on if I want to be a great pre-market trader. And pre-market trading recently hasn't been my best time that I do make the most money, and it is because of my lack of patience. So I just need to be more patient, waiting for these breakouts and for these 9 EMA bounces to resolve. Here I went for a pullback. So we saw clearly we have a lot of interest from buyers. We have 200,000, 270,000 shares per 1 minute candle on this front side here, a 10-cent front side. We had that first pullback to the 9 EMA and pulling back on lower volume, still holding the 9 EMA. I kind of got in at 157 and then adding at 155, waiting for that bounce off the 9 EMA, but it just stalled out. On this third candle, it stalled out and it was hanging around 155, and it wouldn't, have that pop. And I kind of was looking at the tape, and they were kind of walking it down on the tape until, at the last second before that candle closed, it just pounced, it popped like 3 or 4 cents, and then finally gave that front side at the end of this candle. And it spooked me out a little bit, so I sold for a break-even trade when I should have held, and that's just from my lack of patience. There's really no reason to sell here because it didn't actually close below the 9 EMA, and it didn't actually break below the VWAP or the 9 EMA either. I mean, here it may be 1 cent, and if I did sell here, I could have actually got back in at 161, 162 for the break of now 161, maybe on smaller size, because now my risk is a little bit, 3 or 4 5 cents or 4 cents more than I would have been if I was off the 90 EMA, but that's just something to pay attention to, and something that I can improve on by being more patient for these setups to resolve. And MTEK was the only thing moving pre-market. Pre-market before 9 a.m., there's like nothing worthwhile to be trading, at least for me. And so this was the only thing I was looking at. So MTEK here at the open, immediately we got a pop through the high up into the 80s and the 90s. I was kind of scalping this front side. However, I was still a little bit skeptical of whether this was going to reverse and quickly rip flush down to 150s. So I was a little bit cautious getting into this. So I was waiting for pullbacks. So now here I was able to scalp 3 or 4 cents on 1,000 shares, and then here I had another push up. I didn't get on this candle, but on the way up I scalped it on a dip and sold it for a quick 1 cent profit. And then here we got a pullback and a panic dip buy, so I bought at 187, flipped it at 189. Then we had a dip down to the 90 EMA. So this would be, now this is forming like a flag on the 90 EMA support. So here I was going for dips and selling into pops. So here I got 3 cents. Here I was actually a 3 cent loss. And here we dipped down below the 90 EMA and reclaimed. So I was adding and looking for the break of now 193, which is the pivot point. So I was adding up here at 187. This candle opened. I'm still holding my position, and I add it. It pulls back right before it breaks 193. I add in at 188. Now I'm in 2,000 shares, and I sell on the break of the pivot at 193, and my average sell was 190. So that was a pretty decent trade. That put me up about 170 on the day. And then here, here I did a reclaim buy of the 9 EMA, seeing if we get a move, but it did kind of stuff this area, so I took it off for a break-even trade. And then half of it off for a break-even trade. And then, a third for a break-even trade, a third for a 2 cent profit, and still holding a third, 500 shares. And it actually started riding this 9 EMA, so I was holding the 500 shares, which is kind of like my starter position. Now, it's starting to move up, so I was looking to add into this position, added 1,500 shares, and I'm in 2,000 shares. Selling, taking some profits at 194, adding back at 194, seeing some continuation maybe through 2, and taking some profits at 196, now adding back on a dip at 194, looking through 2, but we never quite get it, and I sell it for a break-even trade there, and I do a panic dip buy at 192 off the 90 EMA, thinking this could be a cup and handle, and then this candle comes in and it closes. It's a lot of selling volume. I took about a 1 or 2 cent loss on that, only on 1,000 shares. And then I went for a panic dip buy here at 178. And so at this point, I'm still up around like 150, 160 on the day. Here, now I'm looking for 190. 186. So I get in here at 186 thinking, I'm going to hold this for a potential run up through 190s because we got that break back over VWAP. So we're kind of holding here. I take some profits. I get back in on a dip off the 9 EMA, thinking that, it's going to hold this 9 EMA. I'm risking the low of the 9 EMA, and then it comes back up. I'm still holding 250 shares. This is a very small starter. Now I'm adding through, comes back up to break 190, and I'm adding at 189, looking for the break in 190, taking some profits, kind of holding the rest, trying to get a bigger move, and it doesn't quite get there, and I take it off for a small gain there. And so here, now I'm looking at, let's take this trades off. So now here, So this is clear support. Here I have my support. This would be a good dip buy because you have that support off the pre-market high. And then here, I was thinking we may not see that ABCD pattern. We may just rip up and go right up to 199 and 2. That's why I was buying in this area, thinking, we might see that move. Then once it flushed, now I'm looking for an ABCD pattern. Now it's a little bit more of an extended pattern. Now I'm looking for this now rising support to hold. So this is from pre-market now to open, and now it extends off into this area. Now I'm looking for this area to hold. And so when this came and retested this level, I'm looking for clear buying volume to come in. And at this point, we break back below, and then we have a reclaim and a break back through the 90 EMA, and this candle just rips up right up to 199 and 2. And I take my starter. I'm going to pull up my trades actually here again. This is probably the best trade of the day. I was up 170, and on this trade I made 170, and that put me up 340, 341. So I'll go over this. And here back down here, I tried to go off like a backside scalp off the support level, thinking it would hold, see if we got some sort of pop, and I closed that off for break even. Sort of an unnecessary trade though, actually. And then so here we broke back below this ascending support. Now we rip up. I see volume coming in, new high green volume coming in, reclaiming a support level. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my starter here. 250 shares, I'm only risking maybe what, $20? Maybe this is starting to form an ABCD pattern. And so I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to take my starter at a really good spot, 180. I'm going to reclaim the support, showing buying volume off the support, looking for now a break of this downtrend. Here you can see the downtrend from the highs. So now I'm looking for a break of this downtrend and then the break of the pivot, which is going to show strength. Now we break back over through the VWAP, an adding, and then we have a quick pop up to testing now this downward trend. And I add on 186, taking some profits up into the 190s. And then I add back as it popped over 190s. And yeah, I add back at 194, 195. Now looking for, so I take profits over 190, 192. I take my first set of profits here. I'm on about like 1,500 shares, so I take about half off there. Then I add back on a micro pullback on this candle. We had a quick micro pullback for 1 second. I added back 1,000 shares, and then we ripped through 199 and 2, and I took my profits immediately. And I was able to make $170 on it. So that was probably the best trade of the day. Very, very risky. However, I was able to read the pattern, and I don't think I would have been able to read this pattern if I wasn't studying up over the weekend. Over the weekend, I spent a lot of time just reviewing last week's patterns, and I was seeing a lot of things that I didn't notice in the moment as I was trading, and that's a lot of the reason why I felt out of tune with a lot of the moves on the stocks. And so here on MTEK, you can look at a daily. Here we have clear resistance around 208, and guess where the stock topped out at? 209. So clear resistance. Sometimes I do have a habit of not looking at the daily, which is a problem because I wouldn't have noticed that if I didn't look at the daily, and I would be looking, on this breakout, I probably would have been adding and I probably would have got dumped on. So that's good to know that, we're going into a big resistance point now, breaking $2. We have that huge resistance on the daily at 208. It's a good chance, it's already up at that point from the low. It's not a hot market, and there's a good chance that if you were to add into this situation, you might not get that move, and it could be a false breakout. on an extended stock, about 80%, 25% on the day. And so that's why it was smart to take your profits quick. And that's the closing bell for the day. Nothing much after hours or power hour. RMED I did trade, I think, once or twice. It was actually not the best trade. I took a $30 loss on it, actually. Here I went for a dip off the 9 EMA and 50 cents. I thought we'd see a quick 1 minute pullback and then a run through back up. And then, immediately just fell through the floor here, and I took it for a loss all the way at the low, literally at the low. Literally, I sold it at the low. So that was a $30 loss, only on 1,000 shares, which is good. And then I didn't get back into it until it curled back up, and now I'm looking through the break of 156, 152, 52 cents or 53 cents. So I'm adding in, anticipating the break. We get the break, taking some profit, still holding some, adding back at 54, micro pullback, selling into 55s, 3,000 shares for the break of the pre-market high. So that was actually a pretty good trade, and I made back most of that loss. And then took a small loss here. I bought at the break of 57 for some continuation, false breakout, took a small loss there. So down $13 in RMED. Probably could have taken bigger size. I was only in $1,500 at the max, so I probably could have done 6,000 shares, double the share size for like an average position. But I traded this pretty well. I'm actually very happy. Maybe I could have got in a little bit earlier, but I still did have a good entry for anticipating the break through the pivot, adding on a micro pullback, taking some profits obviously on the break of the pivot, and then adding back on the pullback, a micro pullback showing strength, and then looking for the break through the pre-market high and holding strong, and selling it on the breakout. So I am proud, of trading this. I think I traded this the right way. Just didn't trade it on the best share size, the biggest share size. So, but all in all, finishing the day up 341. My account is back, out of any sort of drawdown. I'm back at the highs, well over the highs. I got my drawdown before today was down 120, I think, and so I made that back. Now I'm back, 200 and whatever in the green, and I hope to keep this momentum going. Tomorrow I'm going to come back and just do the same thing as I did today, not overtrade. See, today I only had 107 orders. So, buying, sell orders, I had a total of 107. So not as much as I usually do, which is good. I want to only trade the best setups. I don't want to overtrade, especially on like a backside or a ranged trade setup. And that's really it. It's been a while since I had one of these days, and it feels good. It's been about maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm back up into the highs. I want to keep this momentum going, and I can't get too cocky. I have to keep studying the patterns that happen every day. Just I can't let myself get a little lazy because I need to keep my edge strong. Whenever I stop studying the market, stop reviewing my trades, stop reviewing the charts, I always seemed to lose my mojo, and I don't want to do that again. I think the reason why I'm green today is because I spent a lot of time reviewing the charts of last week, literally reviewing everything, going over support, resistance, breakout strategies, ABCD patterns, what was happening and what was I missing. And there's so many moves that I missed, or I shook myself out because I could not see the pattern. I could not see the volume. I could not see the daily chart. I wasn't drawing my levels out on the daily chart. There's so many things that I missed that made me undercapitalized last week. And that's what I focused on the weekend. And now today, I was able to capitalize on a lot of the moves today. Could still do better, which is good that I can recognize that, because now I can come back tomorrow and focus on getting better. And that's it. That's really all that I need to do, is just continually learn and try to become better, continue studying, and not just try to try to just show up and not do any of the work, you know. So, all right, that's it. Hope you guys did well today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next day trading recap. All right, peace.